everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back. So today I want to share with you guys an idea that I came up with that's been kind of in the back of my mind. I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. So let me just tell you what it is. I know you're dying in suspense. So right now I am rereading a book, and I never reread books. I never reread books because I feel like there's just not enough lifetime to live to read all the books I want to read. I own so many books, and I own them because they sound amazing. I 100% want to read them, and so that's just why rereading just kind of has always turned me off. It's like, no, I've read that one, I want to read something new. However, right now I'm in the middle of a buddy read with Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library, and we're reading Alan Eskin's book. It's one of my favorite books of all time, like on my top 10, and it's called Then Life We Bury. And I am thoroughly enjoying my experience. I am loving it just as much as the first time. As I'm reading it, I'm realizing so many things that I forgot over the years. I mean, to be fair, I read, 80-ish books a year. So 800 books later, I can't remember all the details. But it has been such a great experience. So it got me thinking that I want to reread more of my favorite books. So my idea is either... I'm not promising anything. I don't even think it will be this year. I think it will be a project for next year where I read one book a month. I reread a book, and each of these rereads I will film a reading vlog for you, and it'll have a lot of spoilers in it. I want to tell you my true feelings about the book, and so that's the biggest part of where I want your feedback. What do you guys think about having a vlog that ruins the book for you? A lot of these are older titles, so most likely you probably have read them. I mean, some of these authors are big authors I'm going to share with you, so they're very popular. So chances are you've read it before. I could even, in my monthly TBR of when I plan to read, kind of let you guys know, like, hey, I'm planning on reading this book this month, and then at the end of the month air the spoilery vlog. That way, if you want to read along with me, or if it sounds like something you want to read but you don't want to be spoiled, you can do that as well. So I have 10 books that I just was my first instinct of, like, these are the top 10 that I would want to reread. They're not necessarily my ultimate top 10. 5 of them I have here physically. The other 5 I gave up looking, so I'm going to pop up some graphics for you guys. My husband, my wonderful, amazing, can build anything, do anything husband, is making me beautiful bookshelves. I know I've briefly mentioned it before. We're almost done. I believe one more coat of paint and then we're good. Project kind of got put on hold because we got some new windows put in. We have a lot of little projects going on around the house. So slowly but surely, we're going to put it all back together. But once those are done and my books are on the shelves, I will also be putting together a bookshelf tour for you, just because I am so proud of my bookshelves. They are going to be so beautiful. They're not even finished, and nothing makes me happier. I can't even put it into words. I've wanted bookshelves forever. So anyways, that's not what this video is about. I digress again. So, okay, so I'm going to go over some books that I have in front of me, and then 5 that I just gave up looking, like I said. No particular order. I figured if I do this next year and you guys think, like, yeah, this is something that we're interested in, I'd probably pick 12. I think I can come up with 12 and just do one a month. So, okay, so let's get started. So the first one, I actually have 2 by this author, but the first one is The Secret Life of C.C. Wilks by Diane Chamberlain. This is a very loved used copy. There's even writing on the back. I'd love to replace this with a nicer copy at some point. Okay, this was published in 2006. I don't remember when I read it, but I want to say it was like 2000 and maybe like 2009, 2010, something like that, a long time ago. And so definitely I feel like this would be reading it for the first time. I'm sure as I start reading it, I might remember things, but this one takes place in 1977. We're following pregnant Genevieve Russell. She disappears, and then 20 years later, her remains are found. There's no baby in her remains, and a man named Timothy is charged for her murder. You fast forward 20 years later, Cece Wilks knows what happened to the body because she was there, and she stole the child, and she's raising the child as her own. Now Timothy the murderer is on his deathbed, and Cece has a really hard choice to make. Should she let an innocent man die? Should she ruin her family? And all the secrets that she had from her family, it might destroy the family. And yeah, that's it. So very popular. I'd be surprised if, I think a lot of you might have already read this and loved it, but there's one. Okay, next one, Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. I remember picking this up from my library just randomly. It was like fall time, and I wanted something spooky. It's blurbed on the back by Stephen King. It says, crisp, mysterious, and scary, reminiscent of Stephen King. Actually, it's blurbed by USA Today. It just mentioned Stephen King. Sorry about that. It takes place in Vermont. We have 2 timelines. This book, I don't remember a lot about it. Again, sound like a broken record, but it creeped me out. I was so shocked that I could be unsettled so much by a book. The Patient by Jasper Dewitt is another one that was very unsettling. I'm not going to do it in this vlog series if I do it, but both these books are just super unsettling and creepy and gave you all the scary feels. You could read it in fall, you could read it in the winter, and it was really good. So you have 2 timelines. So you're following a lady named Sarah who mysteriously, actually she's found dead, 1908, she's found dead right after, I think, just months after the tragic death of her daughter. I don't even remember how her daughter died, you guys. Now in the present day, we have 19-year-old Ruthie. She's living in Sarah's house with her mom and her younger sister. They live completely off the grid. There's a backstory there as well. And one day, Alice is the name of the girl. Her mom vanishes. She finds a diary under the floorboards of this house, and you kind of follow the story from there. That's all I'm going to say. So good. Okay, next one is by Jodi Picoult. This is 19 minutes. This is about a school shooting. This was a really impactful but very hard book to read. I loved it when I read it. Another one of my favorites by her. I have 2 by her that I'm interested in rereading. This is one of them. It takes place in New Hampshire. We have Josie Cormier. She's the daughter of a judge sitting on the case. We have an act of violence at the school, obviously, school shooting. And it says 19 minutes asks what it means to be different in our society, who has the right to judge someone else, and whether anyone is ever really who they seem to be. Jodi does such a great job of making you second guess your beliefs, or not even your beliefs, but second guess your first initial reaction to a story, the story that she writes. She does such a good job in playing devil's advocate and really making you rethink the way you're thinking, if that makes sense. So, school shooting, obviously we want to be mad at the school shooter, but she does such a good job of making the school shooter explaining the reasons behind this experience, this event that happens, if that makes sense. So it just was so good. I could not put this one down, but I don't remember all the details. So that one would be interesting to reread. Switching back to a thriller, Final Girls by Riley Sager. I always say this is my favorite Riley Sager. I have not read his newest one. I do own it. It's on my list. I'm saving it for fall. But I always say this is my favorite, and I want to reread it. I don't know if it's still my favorite. So I really liked, oh gosh, the one that was like the Lizzie Borden story. What was the name of that? I'll pop it up. And I really liked this, Last Time I Lied, The Summer I Lied. The titles are not coming to my mind right now. I've had a really long day at work. Sorry. But I always say, yeah, I think this one's my favorite. But this was also the first I read by him. So I want to reread it and see if it still holds true to be my favorite Riley Sager. It says, 10 years ago, college student Quincy Carpenter went on vacation with 5 friends and came back alone. In an instant, she became a member of a club no one wants to belong to, a group of similar massacre survivors known in the press as the Final Girls. Lisa, who lost 9 sorority sisters to a college dropout's knife. Sam, who went up against the sack man during her shift at the Nightlight Inn. And now Quincy, who ran bleeding through the woods to escape him. Despite the media's attempts, the girls never meet. Getting it now. Now Quincy's doing well, maybe even great. She's got medicine. She's got an almost fiance. She has a police officer who helps her, support her, that saved her life all those years ago. But her memory is just blocked. It won't let her relive what happened that night. But that is until Lisa is found dead in the bathtub. So Sam, one of the other final girls, arrives on Quincy's doorstep, intent on making Quincy relive the past. And when new details about Lisa's death come to light, Quincy's life becomes a race against time as she tries to unravel Sam's truth from her lies and remember what really happened at Pine Cottage years ago. I remember just reading this book, not being able to put it down. I think I read it in a day or a night. I was up all night reading it when I finished it. And it just was so good. So I want to know if it still holds true. All right, next one is by Colleen Oakley. This is a romance. I would call this like speculative fiction, I think. And the ending of this book just really made my jaw drop. I thought it was such a unique premise to the book. I'll tell you what it's about in a second. This is my favorite Colleen Oakley. I've read, I think, 3 by her. This by far is my favorite. And this is about Mia Graydon. She lives, the perfect life. She's trying to start a family, her and her husband. But she has these dreams, and it's the same dream. And there's a man in the dream, the same man. She doesn't really think much about these dreams. She's going about her life. But then in Pennsylvania one day in her small town, she comes face to face with literally the man that's in her dreams, and you follow it from there. This book was not what I thought it was going to be. It was something way better, something better. It was something different. And yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. But I just remember this being just such a shock to me, and I'm curious if I will still hold true now that I read more romance than I did when I read this. Okay, the next 5 I don't physically have, but I will pop up some pictures. So another Diane Chamberlain is The Dream Daughter. I think this is the book I have bought the most copies of because I will find a good deal on a used copy, and then I will loan it to a friend. And I could not find my copy anywhere. I know I have a hardback copy of it somewhere. Couldn't find it. But this is my favorite Diane Chamberlain. I think it's safe to say. One of my this is in my top 10 books of all time. This one is a little different because we have a little bit of a sci-fi twist to it. We have a lady, I can't even think of her name right now, but she has a baby who is born, and they find out she has some kind of heart condition. And in the time period that she lives in, doctors do not know how to repair this thing that's wrong with her child's heart. And then I believe it's her brother-in-law, if I'm remembering correctly, her brother-in-law lets her in on a little secret that he can time travel. So he's actually from the future, and he tells her about this, that she can go to the future where they can repair her daughter's heart. Her husband, I believe, died in Vietnam, if I'm remembering correctly. But so many twists and turns in this book, and it's one of my favorites. So there's that one. The other Jodi Picoult that I want to reread is The Pact. This is about a suicide. Another really hard topic, but I just remember reading it, and it just really made me think. It just pulled on the heartstrings, and I was just obsessed with it at the time I read it. It's so good. So there's that one. My favorite Kristin Hannah, The Nightingale. I have not read all the Kristin Hannah. I have read everything but there still are some Kristin Hannah titles that I have not picked up yet, but of all those that I have read, The Nightingale is my favorite. The Winter Garden is a close second. Also, The Women, I think. The Women, The Winter Garden, and The Nightingale. Those are my top three. But Nightingale is my favorite Kristin Hannah. World War II, two sisters. One wants to fight in the war. The other one wants to stay home. You guys know it. You've probably read it. If you haven't, what are you doing? Go read it. Okay. Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. Karin Slaughter is the queen of dark and messed up. Pretty Girls is such a good book. There's a scene in there I could still vividly remember, and I want to see if it still holds true as my favorite Karin Slaughter. So there's that one. And then the last one is What She Left Behind by Ellen Marie Wiesman. This is historical fiction. I've read a couple by her as well. What She Left Behind is my favorite. We actually have a psych ward trope in there, and it was so good. So those are the 10 books that popped in my mind. If I do decide to do this as a project for next year, I will come up with 2 other titles. Please let me know what you think. What do you guys think? Would you like me to do a vlog that's going to spoil the book for you? Again, I would tell you guys in the beginning of the month, this is the book this month I'm doing, and that gives you a chance to read it before you hear my thoughts at the end, if you so choose. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for taking time out of your schedules to watch my video, and happy reading. I will see you in my next one. Bye.